All right, let's make this a quick one. Happy Friday, everybody. Artist Journal, November 10th, 2023, broadcasting from the high seas of the imagination in Ortigia, Syracuse, the New York of the ancient world, deep in Italy, in inner space. My name is Adrian Pocobelli, and welcome, one and all. Look at this glorious work by Strange Thing, and by the way, as I always try to here, I'm going to try and run through this episode. I would love it to be half an hour, 35 minutes. Wouldn't that be wonderful? So let's give it a shot here again. Keep on iterating here as doors slam left and right. You know, sometimes you rent your entire place on Airbnb, but really it's not the entire place. So let's take a look here. We have Strange Thing, and I don't know if there's a title. This was just posted on Twitter, and it's a brilliant, the color, everything, kind of reminds me of Thug Lord a little bit in its kind of iconicness. I mean, and what did Thug Lord have? It kind of looked like Familiar as a kind of Renaissance painting, but that you'd never seen, with kind of contemporary, but convincingly and persuasively contemporary. You know, a true AI fusion. And I hope you can't hear the dog in the background here either. I'll stop complaining. So GM Art Family. So again, I'm not sure if this has ever been minted before. I don't know if it's a new one, but there's a lot to like here. Let me go back to the other version here. It is just the image here, because we can zoom in. And you know what I almost want to zoom in first is this. You know, nice touch on the edges here. They look fantastic. And look at the beautiful shoes. You know, it's nice too that AI art is standing up to scrutiny here. I think that's another thing that we can be kind of encouraged by. Look at the brush strokes here. And again, it kind of reminds me of, like, again, if I was to see this in a real, quote unquote, real Renaissance painting, I'd say, oh, nicely painted. And so it does actually kind of make me want to see those Art Matter works in person one day. I think they're all sold out, by the way, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, the colors are off the chart beautiful here. As far as I understand Strange Thing, they're kind of based mostly on raw AI, but there's a lot of editing, or there is some editing in the process. But quite brilliant, kind of like looks like an Italian countryside from a Renaissance painting. Perfectly gradient here and everything. And this kind of almost jester outfit here, almost like Thug Lord meets Jester. And you can't help but feel that perhaps, although maybe this should be red wine, I almost want the red wine version. I bet Strange Thing could make it. This almost looks like a self-portrait, doesn't it? The jester, you know, the artist here with the fantastic shoes and plain, you know, again, kind of back to that Nike, again, where Thug Lord, a lot of the work's coming out around then. We had the Nike logo and everything. So just having a tea, waking up, GM. Beautiful, beautiful work. And final contrast here I want to point out is between the subject, who is brilliantly, like, again, this is a nice solution here, kind of like a balaclava with no eye sockets here. This is a brilliant solution rather than the pixelation, which is also quite nice and cool, but this is, you might say, a more integrated solution, shall we say. But the final contrast I wanted to just kind of point out here is between the subject and the background. The background has what you might call traditional colors here. Traditional Italian, you know, or, you know, maybe Flemish oil painting colors from, say, the 16th century, maybe 17th, but more like 16th, I'd say. Maybe 17th. I was looking at the color of the sky there, and this beautiful, I mean, this is what's so kind of hilarious here, and then I promise we will run through. This is how they used to build paintings, right? Where they do it all in sepias first, and then you add the color on top, and you literally build a painting. And that's kind of what we see here. interestingly, which is, you see how it's got that brown characteristic, which you often see in like older paintings up to the 19th century, basically up to the Impressionists, oftentimes, because that's how they would build them. They make them in basically this, different sepias, different browns, umbers, burnt umber, burnt sienna, all of these kind of browns and oil painting. And then once you have your brown kind of background, kind of, again, like kind of lighter like this, but depending, you can also put your darks. Then you start applying color over top, and then you start adding glazes over top. So that's why, say here, if this was an actual Renaissance painting, maybe they paint the sky and they wouldn't even bother to color in most of the city, and it gives a pretty cool effect. Kind of gives the sense of, how it would be to actually look at this, this kind of brown rooftops and everything. And even in the bird, it's like, don't even bother. Maybe that's on top. But you know what I'm saying here? And then you just add a red on the shoe and all of a sudden it all starts to pop. You add this. And so that's kind of so that it's interesting. So it's definitely got that Renaissance feel to it and everything. So just a spectacular work here from Strange Thing. I'd say another home run is how I'd be tempted to call this. So again, just beautiful, beautiful. The color, so much, as I keep saying here, of the magic of painting is in the color. And we also have that going on here. So GM, to Strange Thing here, GM Art Family, always a good sport over there on that Twitter feed. So big shout out to Strange Thing. Big supporter, by the way, of this show, which had nothing to do, actually, with me starting with that. I was going through everything, and then I just kept coming back to that, and I was like, I can't not start with that. So let's go to the comments here very quickly. 8so, wow, that was an amazing surprise. So we started with 8so last episode here with these brilliant Polaroids. Wow, that was an amazing surprise to see you start with my glitched portrait of Egil Saka. I'm so glad that this series is resonating with you. I hope it lands with other folks as well. The print is an Instax square print, which is similar in size and process as a Polaroid. Polaroids just sort of went extinct for a bit. Instax are instant one-off photos, basically. So yes, it's basically a budget modern Polaroid. So those are basically modern day Polaroid prints, so to speak, or paper, photo paper that you put into these Instax. I think I've seen those things at like Saturn in Berlin, like these big technology shops, so to speak. I think I've seen those. In this series, I wanted to give the opportunity for folks to present or possibly get a physical print. I've done a lot of these Instax prints in the past, so I thought it would be a fun way to potentially give a top bidder something fun and physical to cherish at home without adding much of a cost to the work. I mean, very mailable, very sendable. Again, it's sort of like Rada with these, it's nice to make things small because it sure makes it cheap to send, in theory. I have a lot of plans for this series. I hope anyone who starts following it will check out the work and collections of the folks who get portraits, especially if you're not familiar with their work. I'm not sure I am familiar with Egil Saka, so I'll have to look. They're minted as collabs because I think the subject is as important as my glitching. I thought that was super interesting too, minting it as a collab. So I make sure the subject is credited and paid. I'm also hoping to do several artists and collectors who I've gotten to know over the last couple of years. On that note, I'll be in your DMs soon. As I said, looking forward. Skamra, great show with lots to think about. It inspired me to try out something new. And you know what? Alpha for Artists is what I like to call this show. This is this is not a news show. So this is kind of the goal to a certain degree. I'm doing it with myself as I look at everybody and kind of forced to vocalize here in this journal here. Thanks for showing my works. My pleasure, Skamra. Very interesting and on a roll. Rada, fun episode. Adrian, thanks for your hard work. Very much appreciated. And Runetoon, happy birthday to your wonderful mother. I somehow missed that. Beautiful. So shout out to Mom, a happy birthday. And Daenerys, the awkward moment of Salawaki's piece. Hilarious. And Leprochant, gracias, Adrian, have a good day. And Stippen, thanks for the comment. So thank you for the comments as usual. Wonderful. And B, I know I'm super late, but happy birthday to Mrs. Mom Bocabelli. So passed on right now. So thank you, B. Also, Runtune, thank you for covering my work. To answer your question, this is actually a physical painted with acrylic and ink on linen tablecloth. Wow. It measures 87 inches by 87 inches. That is humongous, isn't it? I mean, how many feet is that? Divide by 12. Is that 6 feet? I mean, that's a pretty big piece for a physical. The original is lost to time and abandonment as the original collector could no longer store it by circumstance. Wow, so maybe all that's left is the digital. That is a real shame because it's huge and beautiful. That would be a total shame. Thank you for sharing, Runtune. Very interesting. RJ, so remember I was discussing the different backgrounds on this work here? And so we got some additional information from RJ. Let me just show you here as I try. There we go. Gotta select the right screen here. I was just looking at this. For me, the transparency remains white on Object 2. So it depends where you're minting. I just saw it on Pokebelly's journal and thought it does look different. You get a different piece depending on whether you have Object on light or dark mode. 2 editions in one, crossing a border. So in other words, what is RJ doing here? This is a PNG, as far as I understand. And so that is why you're getting different backgrounds. So playing with the screen, a topic in RJ's work, playing with the default settings of the screen. Very interesting experimentation, isn't it? I mean, these are the kinds of ideas that, again, that I'm used to seeing in like museums, like MoMA, or galleries, like good galleries, where it's like smart, simple, cool, conceptual ideas that help, this isn't just a pretty picture, right? So just very cool from RJ, very interesting. And here's a new one, a one-body problem. Now, this is a PNG, and I wondered if it was the same thing, but this appears to be in dark mode on Object, but still showing up with white. So the mystery kind of continues here. Continuing with this kind of filled in style. You know what I like about this PNG thing is it gives rationale as well to this kind of drawing in style, this kind of filling in and kind of rougher style, or looser, as my friend always corrects me on, this looser style. So just cool work here, and interesting kind of the perspective is a little ambiguous here, isn't it? So more kind of ambiguity in the image as well. And just interesting image here from RJ. So this is an edition of 5 for 22 Tezos each, a one-body problem. And I think maybe referring to the two-body problem, which I don't even remember what it is, but maybe referring to the background here, perhaps. Rada, next Sunday, look at this. So a lot of us will be familiar I think this is the Medici's Herald, if I'm not mistaken. This looks like a frame, this like a still. And interestingly, this looks like a inkjet print on paper that has been cut out. And so a pretty interesting situation here, isn't it? So cool, kind of physical from Rada. Let's see if there's any clue. Next Sunday. So that is the day after tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. I guess that's this Sunday, so I'm not sure if it's this Sunday or a week from Sunday. And more, look at the stickers. So Rada is putting in a huge amount of work here. Do you like mystery boxes? What about a random physical 1-of-1 watercolor and lots of stickers? Just regular and non-glow-in-the-dark stickers, unfortunately, but in abundance and with diverse rarity. Tomorrow, with better lighting, I'll show the original watercolors before sorting them in the mystery envelopes. Collectors can claim an envelope with random content after burning a Tezos ticket. Available this Sunday on Teia or Object at 100 Tezos, 15 to 20 editions, 4 to 5 reserves. So it looks like they're going to go on sale by burning a Tezos ticket available this Sunday. Interesting. So this Sunday. Of course, collectors are free to flip their tickets on the secondary market, 13% royalties. Don't hesitate to ask any questions. Keeping it interesting as usual in the Medici's Herald, I wonder what is going on with that. Quampa. So check this out. Hymns Galloping in the Valley, Microsoft Paint 2023. And for those that are new, Quampa, as far as I understand, like just put out a tweet that I mentioned a couple of months ago in a show that only started this Microsoft Paint style, I believe, at the beginning of the year, as far as I understand. And here we see it. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody out there, but I'm pretty sure this is from the beginning, January 2023, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong, but it sounds like that's pretty impressive to go from the computer a few months ago, 9 months ago, to here, massive in the gallery, and just doing brilliant work here, just through the power of the imagination. So pretty cool. And I wasn't sure if this was a joke or not. My last in real life exhibition, 2021, I think it's real. But I'm never absolutely sure with Walk. It looks pretty impressive though. And you see Walks, look at how big these are. It wouldn't shock me in the sense that, but they almost look like the perspective slightly off. So I can't tell. I really can't tell, but it would be a pretty cool show. So I'm not sure, but it kind of looks real, but it's kind of hard to tell. Continuing on, Santiago, I am drawing. So just a cool, impressive drawing here. It looks like a line drawing, physical from Santiago. So interesting. And Rinnyfish Dubai soon. So there is Rinnyfish, and these, bugs are getting more and more complex, aren't they? Like there seems to be development here. Unsurprisingly, I mean, that's what it is to be an artist. You're constantly developing. These are looking really cool. So very interesting. And of course, Rinnyfish, who has been on a space with us, has gone full time, last I heard. So now showing in Dubai. So do support Rinnyfish. Very cool. Luis Ponce. And the Absurd Was Born print is paired to an NFT, both with the same edition number. They've just been minted on my own ER721 contract, number edition of 25, plus 3 artist proofs. So an edition of 25, and here it looks like it's on one of those digital frames here, and it comes with a physical. So pretty interesting from Luis Ponce, who I think sells for a heck of a lot of money, if I'm not mistaken. And this is kind of funny. Andre Oliveira Cebola, I really wanted to see Pokebelly sharing his thoughts on my glasses in an artist journal. And you know what's funny about that is I actually it basically got cut out because the shows were getting too long about 3 or 4 days ago, because I had like an hour and a half of content already. So it never made it in, but so here it is. I thought I'd bring it up. We have a little more time today. And I did think the glasses were of note here and pretty cool. So all to say, never seen glasses like that before, and I assume you can't see outside of them, but they look very sci-fi and interesting, so I would say pretty cool. Pretty cool. I mean, my grandma was a costume designer. She'd probably absolutely love these and want to put them in a show. So pretty cool, and never seen anything like it would be my thoughts on it. So very cool, Andre, and thank you for tagging me there. And continuing with this whole Bitcoin situation, Leonidas breaking. And remember yesterday, for those that watched, Bitcoin surpassed Ethereum in 24-hour sales volume for NFTs. I mean, I don't think that's a small deal. So continuing on, Ordinal's inscriptions made up 57% of Bitcoin transactions in the past 24 hours, driving up fees to a 5-month highs of 205 sats. Ordinals are the #1 use case on Bitcoin right now. And you know what's interesting? Like, the numbers don't lie. The numbers are the numbers. I mean, it's hard to disagree with that. So again, this is a big watch this space. Like things are happening there, and as artists, like it's getting pretty interesting. It's getting more expensive as well. Here's Ordinal's wallet. The cost to inscribe a small JPEG on Bitcoin is now $50. This is not a drill. And so here you see a 51 kilobyte file, just this tiny little thing here, is $50. So remember Spruggles? Like this is what, like, I mean, in my mind, what I start to think is like, you know, Spruggles got it down to like 6 bytes or something, right? Like this is 51 kilobytes, right? So I'm kind of back to this idea of you start with like a 16 by 16 canvas, maybe 32 by 32, 3 or 4 colors, maybe less, and maybe you're minting for $5 or $10, and all of a sudden you're playing in the game, in the Ordinals game, which is kind of like pretty fun, and there's a lot of very talented artists in this scene. And, you know, someone reached out to me 4 or 5 months ago to put the Peloponnesian War on, and his sort of rationale, and I'm still friends with him, I just haven't messaged for a few months here. The rationale is there's not enough art on Bitcoin. Like it's all this, like, and there's nothing wrong with this, but it's kind of like basic kind of trading card in a simple way. But you start putting art on Bitcoin now, as long as this little run continues, and maybe it turns into a mass, it's actually not so small. I mean, this pretty massive run actually. You know, so all very interesting. If you can mint some kind of smaller works on Bitcoin, I think there's a lot of excitement there. Finally, in the past, Leonidas, who's kind of, I think, the main account behind the Bitcoin ordinals and this whole ordinals business. Leonidas, who was he again? I think he was the Spartan commander general, if I'm not mistaken, in 300. The 300 who kept the Persians from getting through, and I'm not sure if that was the Battle of Marathon or the battle before Marathon, because of course the Greeks won the Battle of Marathon. Need to return to Herodotus. Herodotus, exactly, the Persian Wars, the first history of the Western and probably actually in global creating the historical tradition. Okay, that is Leonidas who is talking here. Let's dig into so why, in the past 24 hours, people have spent $3 million in fees to inscribe files into the Bitcoin blockchain using the Ordinals protocol. Great sentence. But why? Let's dig into the properties of Bitcoin that make it the world's most badass database. And then a lot of the things we already know about Bitcoin: immutability, decentralization, permanence, hello artists, security. I mean, this is what Elon Musk was mentioning, right? Redundancy, timestamping, global accessibility. So we know a lot of this stuff, but again, the excitement. This was kind of an interesting subject matter here. Claire Silver brought it up. If everyone who hates those using AI to create beautiful art could just shift their attention a moment to an actual problem, people using AI to create fake war images, sell them on Adobe stock, and be picked up by media and reported as real, that might actually help for a change. So you see this cloud here. Now, Zach weighed in here. From my understanding of this article, this grid of images is actually photographs, but they say that reverse image searching that leads to similar images on Adobe that are AI generated. So all to say, I guess I'm not sure if there was an article that was actually speaking about this, but it is an interesting point, however this falls out, and an inevitable point, particularly with the 2024 US election coming. You know, basically, we've entered a world, and we've already been in a world that could be Photoshop, or we're entering a world where, sort of like what we see with the oil paint, digital art paintings and drawings, where AI is getting more and more subtle. The AI distortions, the awkwardness of the technology is getting more and more reduced. the technology is getting better and better, where it's kind of interesting how we're entering what's arguably a pataphysical, situation here, a pataphysical landscape where, it's kind of back to Ballard's introduction of Crash, where, it used to be that the external world was the world of reality, and that the inner world was the world of dreams, imagination, fantasy. As he said in the introduction to Crash, in I think 1974, the French introduction to Crash, these roles have reversed. That now it is the external world that is the fantasy world, and the only reality is left in our own heads. And that is kind of the world we've entered here. I mean, Ballard was right again, where, the fiction, where he argued, the used to be the internal world was the world of fiction, and the external world was the world of nonfiction. Again, he'd argue these roles have reversed. Now the fiction is on the outside, and the nonfiction is basically your ability to kind of discern what's going on. So all just really interesting, and there's kind of an inevitability to it as well. Let's keep running here. So this Picasso kind of made a lot of waves yesterday. Picasso painting of his Golden Muse sells for $140 million in New York. And I don't know about you, but I looked at this painting and I thought, this isn't my favorite Picasso I've ever seen. You know what this whole situation just reminds me of, just from my own personal opinion? Is the Salvator Mundi, a super hyped up painting that goes for, that kind of suckers in some people, just from my personal opinion, that really isn't necessarily a great painting. So, it's a good painting, but I just don't think it's a $140 million painting. And frankly, I don't even really enjoy it that much. But maybe it's just lost on me, and maybe I'm missing the boat here. So this was at Sotheby's, a prize jewel. So this is the prize jewel of the Emily Fisher Landau, one of the great art collectors of the 20th century, that were sold on Wednesday evening. So interesting. And here we got this scene, it can work so fast. GM, Boo Boy, I need $140 million, open edition, only 3 hours. So here, clearly a homage to the work. And here as well, from Die with the Most Likes, good meat. And pretty hilarious, actually, with the piercings and the flies and the beef and everything. So just kind of hilarious. And this is a pretty interesting question from Rare. How different does a painting have to be before the estate goes after you? So, of course, this is an important question for pastiche artists. And as far as I understand, I actually brought this up with a German copyright lawyer. This is not legal advice at all, but I'll share what I've learned about this. And my understanding of it, and again, don't bank on it, first of all, is jurisdiction. It depends where you're doing your painting. So in Germany, any a square centimeter that is taken from the original, that is identifiable as the original. I'm not sure about pastiche, right? But if you use anything that is say collage of the original, that is an infringement. Whereas in the US jurisdiction, it's, if there's a commentary, it's much looser. If there's a commentary, if there's basically a conceptual angle on the piece that is commenting on it, then it's seen as fair use. I was going to say fair game, but they call it fair use, right? So it depends on your jurisdiction. Rare's in the US. Now, there was the Warhol ruling maybe 3 or 4 months ago where they actually said there was an infringement where he used the photographs of prints that were done by someone else. Right? And then took it maybe from a magazine or something, and that was seen as an infringement, and this was seen as a kind of a landmark case, kind of more protecting copyright holders of, say, the photograph that you just might find in the news. So also interesting. And then you think of the Shepard Fairey thing with the Obama You know, you could argue that was transformed, but I think he lost that case too. So, but I think what Rare is doing and say what RJ is doing with Pastiche, I think you're fine. And there's RJ, important question. I think they're fine. I think because it's kind of they're new brushstrokes. It's not actually taking the work. I think maybe even in Germany, but don't quote me on that. But I think the point is say with Rare and RJ's work, there is always a transformation that is occurring, a commentary of sorts. So that is my understanding of it. I've used a lot of appropriated imagery in my work, so it's something I've thought a lot about too. If you know my Screen Memories series, where I put the masks over top of the Renaissance paintings, what's interesting is in a marketplace in the US, as far as I've been told, in the US, I'm fine because there's a transformation. In Germany, it's not fine. So as long as the marketplace is based out of the US, which Super Rare is, I'm okay. Interesting. So jurisdiction is actually the first thing. What laws do you fall under from where you're making the work and selling it? Continuing on, so Demon Ego, who I do follow, that is a X-Glitch. Morning, today's the day. First wave of Ponder Group Drop series will start in hours on Zora. 10 artists and 10 artworks, all free mint. Some works already open to mint. So, first of all, very cool poster here, isn't it? And here, I'm going to very quickly go through all the work. So Santiago here with a really cool piece. I brought it up big. Green background, which is pretty awesome. Let me just make sure. There we go. Ooh. Let me just go back for a second and zoom in. Here we go. So just kind of classic vector. I mean, an important thing I was seeing on Twitter, it is important that Santiago is doing vector here. Interestingly, in these kind of Pollock-like digital Pollocks of sorts here. Interesting use of red and orange right here. There's a lot to feast on here. And nice screens too and everything. Interesting green background. Here you have Mikey Wilson. We're just a minor threat. So a really cool piece here. So I also brought that up big. So nice AI artwork here from Mikey Wilson. And really nice. Continuing with, I think, the motorbike or the gang theme here. Just fun and cool and great kind of muted colors. Great sense of color there. That beautiful sun. And of course, Manidal. The first joy and this, let's see if we can get it big. There's a little bit of sound. Oh, I can feel Christmas. Christmas has landed. May have to save this for a Christmas episode here. Okay, so brilliant work from Manidal. That goes for 1:28. That is just a snippet. And here we have, I don't know if the artist is Blue Light or it's just I'm not sure who the artist is here. I'm not sure if Blue Light is the artist or Ritual. Anyway, cool work here. Kind of a demon figure, all using a lot of blue modern clothing. Interesting kind of books, candles, and knives. So almost a bit of a horror movie feeling to it, as Demon Ego loves. And here's another artist, Hopione, who I'd never seen before. Let me just bring this to the start. Kind of an Alice in Wonderland feel to this one. Again, kind of has that a little vaguely the horror movie feel to it. It's almost like Alice in Wonderland meets Lord of the Rings meets Halloween or something. Interesting piece. Again, these are all free mints. Another interesting one, Red Series by Mitch Tom. Cool piece here. Never seen this artist before. Nice combination of photography, kind of collage of sorts, kind of repeated a little bit over here. And then this cool bright red kind of paint stroke. Very interesting. And Magnetismo, interesting work here. Part of the group exhibition Ponder. Oil digital painting. That's what I was looking for here. Interesting. So maybe starting physical and bringing it digital. Very interesting. EL filter. So some new artists here that I've never seen before. And a skeleton running on fire with some nice kind of noisy background. Pretty cool. And here's Demon Ego, A Song of Tomorrow bathed in black bile. And really nice background color too there on the page. And there we see a whole bunch of almost demon figures from Renaissance painting, perhaps. almost reminiscent of Bosch, but different. Maybe taken from AI. I actually brought it up larger here. Look at that. So let me just make sure. Yeah, so as you can see, just a pretty awesome work. And check out that pixelation here in this figure. So just very fun. You forget that it's mixing digital and physical. That's what's so incredible. One of the incredible things about Demon Ego's work. Out of Turkey, we just did a Twitter space with Demon Ego on Wednesday. So that'll be available this weekend. I just need to fix a couple of tweaks on Spotify. This is Graphica.png taking the foundation home or UI and playing with it. So pretty interesting here. And you almost see, yeah, Graphica almost looks like Google there. And so also playing with the background here. And let me bring up the tweet here. So GN Friends, Graphica.png, dropping new work via Drops on Foundation, all part of the PNG world and moment. 25 works which are made to reimagine some aspects of the digital canvas, all unique individual one-of-ones with one story of no background. So you see this kind of, it looks like they're playing kind of similar to RJ, playing with this no background idea. And the project is aimed to reimagine how we space and layer digital art within the digital environment. So just pretty interesting. And finally, I feel it is a very important project for me and hope it will also evolve into something more substantial. It's about how we can use the capabilities of the PNG file type, about the aim and attempt to dilute the barrier between digital and physical representation of art and canvas. So pretty interesting project here from Graphica. Again, could hang in the room beside the RJs, couldn't they? And here is, there's one work that I could find on Foundation here when I clicked the link, and this was the one. And again, playing with that kind of checkered background, the Photoshop canvas, but here making it black and white rather than these grays that you often find. Interesting, right? So I think one minted here, 0.1337. I don't know if this is like the default image and then they all turn into something, or if this is the image itself. So something to check out there if you're a Graphica fan. Rat Cloak with a portrait of his brother, Igor 1996, the best friend, the closest person in my life. So this was just minted on Object last night. I was lucky enough to get one of these. And there is his brother kind of, and then also kind of bleeding out here with the figure almost kind of comically here. And so different representations here, a little darker here on the right, and interesting composition. Almost has kind of a Raphael kind of composition with this triangle here, interestingly, and it's almost like you could find a circle here. Interesting work from Rat Cloak here. Interesting colors too, and then the figure with the legs here. And then the hands holding up the picture. Yeah, I mean, just an interesting piece here by Rat Cloak. Edition of 10. They sold for 30 Tezos each, and they sold pretty quickly here within a couple of hours here. 446, so within an hour, sold out. So nice work from Rat Cloak, and great collector base there. Dexter, straight, just because my path is different doesn't mean I'm lost. So this was kind of interesting from Dexter. I haven't seen Dexter mint for a while here. Really cool artist, digital painter. And maybe this is Dexter playing pool. Interesting. It almost reminds you of Fate, the threads of fate, and, randomness and trying, it's like pool is very much a metaphor, isn't it, for life and fate. And here you have the pirate flag, perhaps on the pirate ship of the imagination here, looking off onto the high seas, and there is the sky. So cool work. Interesting colors too, kind of muted, darker colors, especially in that bottom area from Dexter. Great to see Dexter again. Edition of 10 for 420, and there are 10 left, just listed. And PP Universal, Zendaya Avoiding Me, and we've seen a few of these works come out recently on PP Universal's page. So kind of using the classic format here of putting in patterns on the outlines, and not exactly sure who this person is, maybe an actress or something, with a really big shoulder. Reminds me of Grace Jones in the 80s there. Zendaya Avoiding Me. Not sure who Zendaya is, but maybe someone very famous that I don't know. Nov 1914, Tu Compania. So another edgy work here from Nov 1914 with these, look at these gradients on the side. I mean, that's what jumps out at me, ironically, because I've just never seen kind of gradients like this on the side. And these transformed hearts, and I guess it's kind of like friendship or, relationship here. People hugging each other, and just another wild work. It looks like this piece here has been kind of transformed in these other areas here. And some stars and some wild gradients here. Some wild colors and keeping it interesting over here. Splendid View by Smonter. Another interesting perspective, taking, we're used to the interesting perspective from Smonter, but here it looks like we're taking almost the video camera's perspective, or at least right beside the video camera. Maybe it's another video camera. Kind of perfect and interesting. And there is perhaps the murder that took place and the blood, kind of very carefully done, and perhaps the perpetrator looking up at the witnessing cameras there with the great city in the background. Almost always kind of it feels like it's always 20 or 30 years in the future. From this skyscraper, you can see the whole city, and from its surveillance cameras, you can see all its horrors. Splendid View, edition of 5 for 10 pesos each, so Smonter raising the price deservedly there. Continuing on, I thought this was brilliant. Happy Friday. Gogolitis and OX Dither. And you'll see why I'm saying Happy Friday here in a second. I mean, it reminds me of a Panasonic commercial from the 80s or something. I mean, nice work. Nice work. Great combo there between Gogolitis and the piece. It's a brilliant collaboration. I mean, they really did a good job, even by putting, it's really interesting actually, isn't it? To just in this frozen frame here to see Gogolitis's, very pixel-esque super digital work, kind of given a bit of a like TV filter, line filter, right? Like that, television line filter. It's interesting because once you start doing that, you know what it starts to look like as well is a textile. Like you can start to imagine Gogolitis's work just from this random frame here being like a rug or a tapestry, maybe more importantly. And there's a great tradition of that at the Victoria and the is it the V&E? Victoria and Edward? What is the main museum there in London? The Design Museum. They have some Raphael tapestries there that are well worth seeing. There's a great tradition of tapestries. So here is the work. I mean, wow. Just the technology that's required to put like a GIF on this TV, and look at the brilliance of Gogolitis's work here. And then putting the cat as a big sticker. I mean, it's brilliant, actually. Every little piece of this, and there's Gogolitis as usual. And you can do this. I mean, wow, right? It starts giving you ideas. So the power of collaboration here. So this is an edition of 20, and the offers are coming in. And let's speed up here. I mean, we're already at 43. Cap'n. So another super cool work and a poetic title here, Departure. So kind of a sunrise almost on another planet as we see a sun in the air here. Interesting piece. And little blinking kind of areas there. And this was beautiful too. What was the title? Never Forget Your Way Back Home. Incredibly poetic here. And it looks like the pixels are moving very, very subtly here. So more just very subtle, interesting work. Beautiful. Poetic work from Cap'n. And here's another one, Self-Defragmentation, out of Costa Rica. Just an awesome artist. If you've never seen this artist before, we did a space about 2 months ago, and it was awesome. Really cool person, Cap'n here. So really nice. Again, static pixels with the dynamic pixels. This looks like, I mean, this is a GIF. It almost looks like a video. But I think this is using one of those obscure softwares that Cap'n likes to use. So just super cool. Muji with another obelisk, number 7 here. This was just minted. Let me make it a little bigger. Cool colors here. And this is the obelisk here. And You know, the obelisks, yeah, were pretty important in ancient Egypt. They're seen as major monuments, and of course, a lot of them were, taken to Europe. I think Rome has like 5 of them. And you know what's funny about the obelisks? I think London has at least 1 or 2. Like, they were seen as real treasures. I think, does Berlin have one? I'm not sure. But they were sort of seen as, like, the funny thing about it is if you're to try and return it, they're so huge, like, I'm not sure you can even, like, I mean, you can return them, but it's not a small feat, is what I'm trying to say here. So anyways, cool color scheme. And again, in these kind of negative space areas, always really interesting. Like, it makes me wonder if Deluxe 4 is being used with this blue kind of screen area. Very interesting and beautiful. Speaking of which, Pixelful on Object 1, and there's actually volume on this. Pretty cool animated abstract work here. You see the importance of music. It completely transforms the work here. I'd actually argue it gives it a lot of interest, doesn't it? Because the work is cool. The work is cool, but you might stop after 10 or 15 seconds. But with the music, you might just stay here for the entire 4.5 minutes. You know, it's interesting, isn't it? So really beautiful work here, a 1 of 1. These beautiful pixels here. I wonder if we can zoom in. We can't. So again, Pixelful, animation generated by custom software. Wow, making their own software. That is impressive. 3840 by 2160. Cool title too. And here, Acid Boy, the master of psychedelic abstraction, as I like to call him, with another interesting work here. So starting to release more works here. And as you can see, wow, that's kind of dizzying in a great way. More impressive, creative work from Acid Boy here. Edition, and this is a GIF, I think. No, it's MP4. So this is an MP4. This is on Object. Edition of 10 for 20 Tezos each, and there are 10 left, just listed. Continuing on, this is by Not a Number, Dismiss Vintage Scatter. So let's just make that bigger here. And this is, again, probably P5JS, as Not a Number often does. So basically, what I would call an abstract made with maybe a generative abstract, we might say, or programmed abstract work. I like the top here with the kind of dragged area. Nice touch. Also using GIMP, digital mark making. Dismiss Vintage Scatter. This is a 1 of 1 for 10 Tezos. And here's Kareem Safa. And let's just reduce the size there a little bit. So just a cool work here. Cool GIF posted by Kareem Safa. Up close and personal here. So very nice work there. And P1 with a new kind of stained glass sort of looking work here. This on Object. Only 2 Tezos, 10 Tezos cents. Edition of 10. So just another nice piece here from P1. Nice pink background too, or frame. And check this out by mech.txt. So combining the pixel art here and the MS, what I call the MS-DOS kind of work here. And I love the soldiers. And some big chunky pixels along the way. Totem Corpus. My Totem Laboris Corpus. Not sure what totem is. Maybe labor and body. Not sure. Interesting piece here. Very cool. Continuing on, Stalomir. Let me make sure this is 100%. Starless Night. Great subject. And here we almost see, I guess those are clouds. They almost look like waves. And of course, Stalomir always does these kind of experimental pixel art works here. Kind of always has a bit of a sci-fi feeling to it, as you can see in the green eyes here. And this great contrast between the red, the dark red, and the violet. And there is the blue, so beautiful colors here. Edition of 23, the offers are coming in pretty high. And let's just see if, oh, Gogolitis there. And so offers are coming in for Starless Night. Another cool work by Jacques Disclosure. Self-destructed. I love these big chunky pixels here. and nice kind of noise along the way, and just interesting work here. Edition of 15 for $3.50 each, and selling out actually at 2 Tezos each at edition of 15. So nice work there. Interesting title. This is Ripcash. So to me, it's very clear, and I may be wrong, but to me it's very clear, just Bitcoin is the title, that these are manually done. And it really makes you wonder, you know, as I was saying at the start of this show with ordinals, like this should be minted on ordinals. I assume it is, you know, but I assume this would sell, you know, like quite well. And you know what this looks like to me? I mean, you know what I'm trying to say here is this looks like manual pixel art. This isn't like, oh, we'll pixelate it, we'll take a chart or a meme and then we'll just hit the pixelate button and then we get or we'll just reduce the size. This looks very carefully done. Each little pixel here, it looks very carefully done, as if it's like an 8-Badoo and someone working on their little composition here, and then Bitcoin going to the moon. Very cool work here from Ripcash. Inspiring, because this is basically what I'm talking about here. 3 colors. How big is this file? Right? I bet it's like a few bytes. Okay? That is how you do it. Silva Santus. Now, I thought Silva Santus put out a work like this like a year ago or 6 months ago, one of the first works, and it was really tiny. This looks like a bigger version. This is an open edition. It might have been someone else, and the glitch might be different. This is taken from Clue. I love the setting of this piece. I think it's just an awesome piece. It's only 13 Tezos cents, so 11 cents. I picked one up. 40 have been minted. The show will restart, so just very cool Nintendo glitch ROM from Silva Santus. And here's Mason the Third with a 1 of 1 for 50 Tezos, Artificial Sun. And here, a glitch ROM of, again, working, so like Silva Santus was, working with some kind of planetary astronomical games here, screens from games here. Makes you wonder if it's the same game. And almost looks like there's a gradient in here somewhere, somehow. And I could be wrong about that, but there seems to be a gradient in there, doesn't there? 50 Tezos, 1 of 1. This is brilliant. I almost wanted to start with this. Score in collaboration with Kiro. Just a really cool looking collab, isn't it? These collabs. I mean, it's pretty interesting how these collaborations actually are netting. It's not like it's tempting to think collaborations can be just like, okay, this helps you, this helps me, but let's see how the art goes. But I see, like, look at Gogolitis, you know, as another example with OX Dither. Here's another person, you know, here's another example. We're seeing a lot of interesting collaborations here. So Saiko and Kiro, if I'm not mistaken here. Let me just get my screen sorted out here. Score, who also known as Saiko Ihara, and DJ Kiro. So reserve of 0.15, nice piece. And here, I think we got a bit of info here. A nice still too here. GN, I've been collaborating with DJ Kiro these days. Our first collab piece is coming tomorrow on Foundation. We combine Midjourney, 101, and Adobe in analog video glitch. So there's some AI in here, interestingly. Very interesting. And here, Tokyo is cold today. Winter is almost here. Well, tomorrow I'm about to go back to winter as I leave Sicily here. Anyway, let's just see if we can make this bigger. Interesting abstract from Saiko. Well, let's get this under an hour here. DJ Kiro, and this is collaboration with Ranixdeer. Current bid 0.03. I think these are beautiful. They're like these, it's like cool analog glitch abstracts. Like they're very nice abstracts, minted on ETH. It's great. And 0.03 ETH, I mean 0.1 would be $200, let's say. So you're still getting like a pretty respectable, like it looks like not much money, but it's still like $60, maybe more, 70, right? And $65 divided by 2, you still walk away with $32 each. Not bad. And here's another work by Kiro, just posted. So just kind of interesting here. Not sure if Kiro made the music or not, so that's why I silenced it. But just as you can see, pretty cool. And continuing on, LB. All We Left Behind, this almost looks like eclipses, but not, or eyeballs, hard to say. Or solar eclipses. These look like eclipses, don't they? Nice piece here from LB. I really like that bottom line too. Nice touch. All We Left Behind. 5 Tezos each, and there are 8 left. And here's max capacity done by EIZO. So I never saw the Polaroid, but here is the portrait. So a cool portrait of max capacity. Of course, we saw the other one yesterday at the beginning of the show. So I'll keep my eyes open for the Polaroid there too. Edition of 10, now 40 Tezos on secondary. And here, Ellie Pritz, Blossom Cycle 1 and 2, free open editions on Zora as part of my group exhibition, Electric Psychedelia. So just another cool video processing work here. And here is the series, as you can see, Electric Psychedelia on Zora. So you can mint them all. So that's pretty cool. And I think, or mint everything that is available. Anyway, just a cool series here with Refraction DAO, I think, on Zora. So interesting work there. Polygon 1993, again, like 500,000 views here. Pretty impressive and a pretty cool work. You gotta love the title here too, Conflict Resolved. And just a cool work from Polygon 1993, just seen on X. And Jada, another work here. We saw one yesterday. Let's see if there's volume. No. So another interesting piece here, kind of 3D animation, I guess you would say, from Jada. Saren Su, GM, I spent a few days figuring out how to convert the shoes in Van Gogh's pair of shoes into 3D. So that's pretty interesting. So I assume you can turn these around. Pretty nice job. And of course, these famous shoes by Van Gogh. These are almost a crossover work. You know, it's probably a lot of you know this, but like Van Gogh, like 90% of the work we know was made in the last 3 years of his life, maybe 4. I think age 37 to 40 when he died. You know, controversially, there's a bio that suggests maybe he didn't kill himself. And so this looks like it was done maybe 4 or 5 years before he died. Like these were the paintings that came out maybe when he was 35, 36. These kind of brown ones, there's the potato peelers, remember that? Where he's using these kind of sepias and he still hasn't broken out. I mean, interestingly, notice the color. There's not a ton, it's almost just these underpainting kind of colors here. And he goes from this very muted colors with almost underpainting style to this revolutionary, just green on the brown canvas, and leaving space, not even filling up the whole canvas. The power of being prolific, I might add. Like, it's all he did for days on, for 3 or 4 years. You can get pretty far, almost anybody, if it's all you do. Ocote, another interesting AI piece that kind of has a bit of a kind of a gang feel to it or something. So interesting, kind of looks like Latin America or something. I protect my family, my land, and my culture. Yeah, revolution, Latin, resist. So interesting work here coming out from Ocote. Did this sell out? Another nice painting, only a Tezos each. So nice AI artwork here. Another artist on the radar, courtesy of Mikey Wilson. Movement studies from Yoa Een. So just a study here from Yoa Een, making it look super easy. And just really nice, interesting, beautiful work. Beautiful palette here, interesting composition, kind of painterly, but AI, just cool as usual. Look at this work by Tukes. I'm pretty sure this is Tukes. Weathered scene lines lined in pain. Isn't that interesting? So look at that. I mean, how you're able to get that texture there, as well as there, really almost like, it sounds like Tukes probably put weathered in the prompt. Nice still life here. I think that's what you'd call it. Still life composition. And another piece here. This one's a little more painterly, a little less textured, and a little bit more saturated. And just a nice beach scene from what looks like a beautiful Airbnb somewhere out there. And another nice composition here, GM. And continuing on, Fabio Leo. So check this out, and let me make sure there's no... I'm going to mute that because I'm having issues with uploading to Twitter. So you kind of heard some of the music there. I think it is a content issue. Anyways, cool AI artwork here. I'm pretty sure this is AI. That almost looks like a SP404 interface or something. And yeah, so just cool AI artwork animated on Zora. Hyperpop Bytes, cool title. And of course, Lily Illo here with draftsmanship. Really like the floor here and the interesting figure. Just really pretty cool work here as the AI artists continue to dazzle, don't they? And here is Venta. Odd World is a place plagued by strange time, a world not unlike our own. So I hadn't seen this. And so these all sold, I guess, at 0.02. So you see a whole collection of AI by Venta here. And actually, no, there's still 76 left. There's 24 have been minted so far. So pretty cool series here from Venta, selling for 0.02 ETH each. So nice work there. And into the physical world we go. Never seen this artist. Love the new fresh start of a painting. I'm buzzing with excitement as I have a month to prepare for my next solo show, Hoof to Wing, which opens next December. So this is someone called Sophie Wake. I guess they have 28,000 followers, so not totally obscure here. It's tempting to just stop this painting right here, isn't it? I'm sure Sophie is tempted as well. I mean, it kind of looks good to go. I didn't realize it was half finished. It really adds mystique sometimes, leaving it half finished like this. The non-finito. Again, seen as a pioneering... wish I could get rid of these notifications here. Of Michelangelo, a pioneering technique by Michelangelo is sometimes the interpretation. The Legend of an Arctic Tiger. I thought this was pretty nice too. Again, kind of has Henri Rousseau vibes here. Slightly, but not really. Really nice painting here, isn't it? Look at that. A Good Sport is the name of the account. So 62,000 followers, and maybe that is a good sport there. Interesting work. Again, kind of has Henri Rousseau kind of feeling to it. Tons of good art out there, like even in the physical. For a while, I was sort of seeing all the action in the digital, but I have to say physical art, there's a lot of really interesting stuff turning up in the feed here. Vogel Art Edition, great artwork by Ida Turzik and Wilfried Milla. So maybe a collaboration here. Beautiful drips here. Nice painterly work here. Not exactly sure what it is. And again, just kind of leaving things empty can be really poetic. Just really nice there. And look at this. This is Richard Prince's solo exhibition, Body, opens today in our Berlin gallery. That's tonight, actually. Oh, no, sorry, that was a week ago. Please join us for the opening from 6 to 8. That looks really cool and exciting. So, again, you know how I was discussing yesterday, sometimes Richard Prince will put like photos, but then continue the photos with like an oil pastel or with a pastel of some, or sorry, with a oil crayon or something. I think that's what's going on here. And you see all these kind of parts of the body, but then you zoom out and it looks like it's actually a full person. So really nice work by Richard Prince. Excited to go see that show as I return this weekend. We saw this artist before, and there's something kind of novelty about it. But, you know, it's done quite well, and it's just kind of interesting here. Art by Ben Ashton Art, and Before a Fall. So let's... And there's something else I wanted to point out on this other than the shape and the stretching, which is just this idea of... We're kind of back to the non-finito here. Like, you see how it's pretty persuasive just to leave it like this, right? Or even like this. You know, kind of reminiscent in Strange Thing, where the background of that Renaissance-looking painting, the city, was just kind of left like this. You know, so just an interesting, that's kind of what goes through my head. And actually, why I wanted to highlight it more than the shape was just this interesting, by seeing the development, again, it makes you wonder, like, which is actually the best version? And I'm not sure which is the most poetic version. I might actually go with, geez, maybe this, or maybe even this. Isn't that interesting? So if you have a different thought, let me know. Should do a poll here. Gloomtube, 1:59 a.m. This is physical work. I'm 99% sure here. And so this looks like a whole bunch of almost artificial food from the supermarket here. I guess this is the jalapeno cheese here. I'm not sure. This looks like the case, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on here because this also looks like the barbecue. And here are the hot dogs. Kind of classic Gloomtube subject matter. I'm not exactly sure, though, what is going on here because this looks like the packaging is maybe put on top, but maybe I don't understand what the product is. Anyway, 1:59 a.m. So maybe coming home after a couple of drinks or something. And that is your show, my friends. Have a great weekend. A little bit of a different ending here. Thanks for joining me. And until next time, take care.